Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is a carry position 1 tier list for the new patch 7.30, whether it's B or C or whatever it is, depending. It should relatively be the same. I know they just dropped that B patch recently, but it didn't shake up anything too much. And it's been out for about 3 weeks now, so I think this is a good time. Everything's kind of settled in. We kind of figured a lot of things out. So basically, let's just jump into it. First, we have S tier, as you can see. It's Slark, Clinks, and Sven. The first one I'll talk about, actually, even though it's in the middle, is Clinks. So basically, Clinks is new because of his new Burning Barrage, his new ability. They replaced Strafe with this. I'll probably make an updated guide relatively soon for this, now that it's pretty much figured out. People kind of understand how to use this hero. And he's played as a carry now. Not as much of a mid, still maybe a little bit of a mid, depending on the game. But he's mainly a carry, and this Burning Barrage now makes it so that instead of going around and farming through killing people or like taking towers and kind of being this weird gank hero, he basically can farm now because of this, because Burning Barrage just shoots out arrows in a straight line, and the arrows pierce everything, so it goes through and hits every target on the way, and it also procs Maelstrom. So what you do is you build Maelstrom, then you usually build Dragonlance, and then you get like BKB, Scotty, Crit, all those kinds of things, Daedalus, whatever, you know, just various things like that. You may even go Ags and the Shard and those kinds of things depending on the game. And what'll happen is you just get to this point where, because you're building real carry items, you actually do a good amount of damage with just your searing arrows, because now you have attack speed because you're building agility and stuff like that, and you have insane health. You have like 4k plus health later into the game with this with Death Pact and these strength items that you're building, like if you build Scotty or if you build BKB and all that kind of stuff. So this hero is insanely tanky, does ridiculous damage with searing arrows, still attacks pretty fast, and then farms so quickly with Burning Barrage. You can even take like ancient stacks of this thing. You clear waves extremely quickly. So he's pretty much everything the old Clinks did, except now has this extra ability that just makes him farm faster. So I think that he will probably be nerfed in the future, but if he's not nerfed before TI, he will probably be picked a lot in TI or banned. It is always weird to have an invis hero as a main hero, like in the high top tier professional tier 1 scene. But I think it's still that good that it will be picked a lot if it's not nerfed, or like the numbers aren't nerfed. I think it's good where it is in terms of the way it's played, but probably the numbers just need to be nerfed, because this is way too much HP, farms so quickly, it's insane. But yeah, that's pretty much how you play Clinks. He's just really, really good right now. People were unsure, even I was unsure, whether Clinks was going to be better or worse or whatever, but looks like he's really, really good. Then the next two for S tier, I would say Slark. Slark is just kind of been buffed recently, like here and there, just little things, but I think some of the biggest things this patch are actually the fact that his talents are really, really good now. And basically you have level 10, Dark Pact cooldown. This makes you spam it for farming, which is amazing, and also in team fights it feels like it's up all the time, so you can like never get stunned. Then at level 15 you can actually pick the farming one, which is the Dark Pact damage, or you can actually pick 50 Shadow Dance attack speed, which is really, really good, especially because he has his Shard now, which is basically a second ult. And so you have this attack speed when you're in your ult, and it makes you do, obviously, more damage, you get more stacks up, and all of those kinds of things. But I actually think the biggest one, the most important thing for this hero that makes him so good right now, is the level 20 talent, plus 1 agility gain stolen per essence shift stack. This ability makes Slark crazy. When he hits 20, you can get so much attack speed, so much agility, that I just feel invincible. I've seen Slarks man up on an ulted Sven. Like, Sven has ult, and yes, Slark is pretty ahead of the Sven, but because Slark has so many essence shift stacks, he has like 50 armor or something crazy like that, and he's just attacking so fast that he just basically kills the Sven, like full. They're both full, and Sven's ulted, but Slark still wins the man fight. That's how good this hero is right now. I think he's really, really good. Obviously, he's a difficult hero to play. I think a lot of people like him. I really like him. He's probably my favorite hero. I pick him a lot. His win rate isn't the best. It's still up there, but it's not the best because he's being picked in like 20% of games, and so a lot of people are picking him even if they don't, necessarily know how to play him or not that good with him. So that's why his win rate isn't always the best, but he's being picked so much because he's just so good right now. And obviously, there's like other little things about him that are better and stuff like that. Like this Dark Pact, they just recently changed it where it does less damage to you now than the actual damage it dishes out. So it's good for securing last hits in lane. It's also really, really good for just harassing the enemy, all of those kinds of things. That's a huge, huge buff for Dark Pact. And I think that's another main reason that this hero is really good. But there's just like a lot of different things together. Having 2 ults, like I said, there's just so many things that make this hero good. And I think he's one of the best heroes right now in this patch. So that's Slark, and next we'll talk about Sven. Sven Basically, he's just really good against like the strong meta, which is the zoo meta, as you say, as you might call it, with Lycan and with Beastmaster and all of those kinds of things. Because of his cleave damage, he can farm really quickly, so he can get like crit and he can get like 2 attacks in with Echo Saber and cleave through these zoo-like heroes pretty quickly. He also just, got a little bit better in this patch. He's really, really good now. You can farm up. You can go like the new not Echo Saber, the new Silver Edge, and just like crit things down really quickly, be invis, not even have to go blink, but also with the swift blink and everything. He was right on the edge of like being relevant, I think, because the old patch, last patch, there was a lot of farming ancients and all of that kind of stuff with Luna and Medusa and all those kinds of heroes, and Gyro, but those heroes are a little slower, where Sven's a little faster, and now you want a carry to be a little bit faster, and so Sven does all the same things that those heroes do, and they didn't really change the jungle or stacking at all, but he just does it a little bit faster, so you can like get your items up quicker. You're not just going to be like bowled down in the mid game with these like zoo heroes and this Helm of the Dominator or Helm of the Overlord thing. It's not going to happen as easily to Sven. So I think that's one of the big reasons that he's good now. And obviously there's like slight buffs and things like that, but I think that's the main thing. Is I think he was like on the precipice of being decent, and now he's like just really good. So that's pretty much Sven. I don't think there's really too much else to talk about with him. Obviously, there's like slight buffs and stuff recently, cast point reduction and all of those kinds of things, damage rescaled a little bit, all of that kind of stuff. But I don't really think there's all that much to say about him in terms of like the overall balance of the hero. I think he just got better for the patch. So he's really, really good right now. So those are the S tier heroes, all I think S tier. And I separated these heroes out from the A tier because I think these heroes are all like, you could say that some of these heroes are A as well, but they're not like, they're A heroes from like, or S heroes from the last patch, and they're being picked as much, but their win rates aren't as good. They don't feel like overpowered. They don't feel as like new, at least. Maybe later on in the patch, maybe by TI, we'll see that, some of these heroes drop off and these go up. But for right now, I think this is generally the way that it's going to be balanced. I also will briefly comment that you see over here would be S, but now it's an off lane. Basically, Lycan is one of the best heroes this patch. He's pretty much overpowered, right with Beastmaster because of the Helm of the Overlord, but if you look at his Dota buff, or if you look at his Dota Pro tracker, he's being played like 80% in the offlane, maybe 90%. He's basically an offlane hero now. He's like a second Beastmaster. So I would put him in S, but he's really not being played as carry as much, just because of the build that you have to go to make this hero good. So that's Lycan. I'll just briefly comment on that. I'll feature him in the offlane tier list that I'll be making shortly. So anyway, let's just move on to A. We have Luna. Pretty simple. I mean, Luna got a little bit of nerfs, but they also actually, in fact, because of the level 10 -8 Moonglaze damage reduction, that thing is slightly buffed. So if you take that, it's actually, the Moonglaze are better than they used to be, despite the nerf. And so otherwise, she didn't really get nerfed that hard. She could still clear stacks. She's still really, really strong. So it's pretty much the same Luna as last patch, just a little bit weaker at times. Maybe not as fast, and that's the whole thing. If they're going the Zoo build, these heroes are not as good, and that's kind of why. I mean, even Slark is not as good with the Zoo build. But Slark is just so good right now in general. But these heroes are, because they're slow, they're not as good against the Zoo build. So, and that's Medusa as well. Medusa got slightly nerfed with the bounce, like radius and stuff like that. But otherwise, there's pretty much nothing else that really got nerfed for her. It's just, the snake is slightly, doesn't bounce as much. Otherwise, she does pretty much the same thing. Just out carries people if she's able to get her farm. PL, really, really good right now. You can just completely stomp games with this hero. Honestly, could be S tier at times if you're playing it and you're really good. It just depends on the heroes you're against. He also, though, is, again, a hero that needs some time to get online with a few of his items. Otherwise, he might just get bowled down in the early game against these, like, Helm of the Overlord builders and things like that. So that's why he's not S. And then Faceless Void, just a really good hero right now because he's honestly building like very tanky. He's not just building for chrono damage. He's building like Ags and all these other things like S&Y and Scotty and Ags and all this stuff to get just so much HP that it's hard to bring him down in general. And then he can just like do damage outside of Chronosphere. That's the main reason that I think he's good right now, is because he's not actually relying on his chrono to deal insane damage like he usually is. So you don't actually need to build like a ton of attack speed on the hero. So that's my A tier. Next, we have B tier, and I have the first two heroes here are actually heroes that I think are rising. I looked at their win rates in, general pubs and also in Dota Pro Tracker, and they weren't that great. In fact, Gyro's win rate is really, really low, despite him being picked a lot and him being kind of one of these heroes. That's why I put him down here, although he could be up here. And then Monkey King is kind of on the rise. So Monkey King, one of the changes was, with I think his Shard basically gives him like his, whatever that ability is. I always forget the name of it. Mischief, yeah. The Mischief is now, like, they rework the Shard and makes it, like, a disjoint and all this other stuff. And he can dodge a lot of things. And he's generally a pretty strong hero. So he's being played some mid, but carry and those kinds of things. So he could be on the rise. He could be A tier. We'll see. Maybe he'll get into S or something. Maybe in TI he'll be, like, insane. I don't know. And then same thing with Gyro. Gyro could be better. He's just, like, in general pubs, he's not doing that well. And I think he's not the best against some of these heroes, which is probably why I would put him down in B. And then these heroes, Naga's not being picked a lot, but Naga's still pretty good. She's just kind of like weirdly niche. Ursa, I would say, has fallen off. He's not the best against the zoo. He's not the best in general, but he's still good enough that I think in pubs you can stomp with him. His win rate's okay. He's just fine. Bloodseeker's another one that's kind of on the rise, but I put him in B tier here because he's not being played with as carry as much. He's being played more of an offlaner, so he's kind of like a Lycan in that sense. But he's still good enough, and he's still on the rise. He's still getting better that he could even like pop up into A, but he's just being played at a different role more than carry. And then C tier, the first one that I want to talk about is Troll. I put Troll in C because the win rate for Troll is pretty bad. It's below 50%. It's like 48%, maybe even lower in general pubs, 48% with Dota Pro Tracker, but he's getting picked a decent amount, so I think this hero is also on the rise. I think this hero may go up into A, just depending on what happens in TI. So although I have him in C here, he could be B, he could even be higher. I just don't like the fact that his win rate's really bad right now, but he's one of those ones. It's like Monkey and him, they're first in this tier because they probably could be popped up another tier, just depending. We'll see how, the meta evolves into the future, but keep a lookout for these two heroes because you might see a ton of Troll. Troll might, fly up the ranks here in the next like month before TI or so. And then the last tier for C tier, we just have Razor, kind of just a general carry. He's not the best, but, I mean, you could play him as carry if you need to. He might even be D tier. Weaver, he's sort of on the rise, but people are trying to play him, and they're being kind of successful, but not great. He's kind of just situational. Ricky is a similar kind of thing. Morph is a pub stomper. So, like, if you're good with him, you can crush, but he's not the best right now. Jug, kind of not good at all against the zoo, but generally in pubs, you can kind of win with him. It's just when you use your Omni Slash against someone with a ton of summons and that Ancient Creep, it just feels so useless. So he's just really not that good. Lifestealer is generally okay, but again, he's not very good against all these summons and other things, illusions. He's not really good against that, so he's pretty low down here right now. And AM can be okay, but he's still, not the best hero, just has his timings. I will see if he's picked with Magnus and can go like an Echo Saber build. There's this kind of weird thing that they're shifting up with him. He might be good, but that's kind of a weird niche, and they haven't really solved it yet, and they haven't really figured it all out. So I'm still putting him in C tier. Then we have D tier. Wraith King, they nerfed him like a lot for some reason with his ult, so I just think he's down here. He's just kind of getting nerfed over time because he used to be so strong for so long. CK, he's been being played as an offlane more, not even a carry. So as a carry, he's pretty bad. I think you could still play him, but he's not really that good. Spectre's been good for a long time, so they nerfed him, and basically, or they nerfed her, I guess you could say. Basically, the Q is now dispellable, which it wasn't before. So like where Spectre may have countered Slark in some ways, although like they kind of counter each other in some way because Slark can buy, he steals stats and he can buy I always get the thing, Silver Edge. I always get them mixed up for some reason. He can buy Silver Edge and break him and all this other stuff. Spectre used to counter Slark because of the Q was undispellable, so you could cast Q on Slark and you could see him forever, but now it's dispellable as of the last patch, which actually makes that spell horrible, and so Slark like direct counters Spectre, and he's just not very good right now because of that. And then I have Nature's Prophet here because he was being played carry like sometimes in the last patch at the last major, and he can still like dish out a good amount of right clicks, but he's just not like really that big of a carry right now. And then finally, we have F tier. These are just all heroes which their win rates either were always terrible for the last few patches or just plummeted off the earth. Terrorblade and Drow were like actually getting picked. Terrorblade a lot. He was like A tier, S tier. He was like really up there. And because of the new change with the meta and everything, with the zoo and with all this kind of stuff, his win rate is absolutely atrocious right now. It's just terrible. He's dropped off a cliff. He's one of the worst heroes in the game right now in terms of win rate. And same thing with Drow and PA. they're just terrible win rate heroes. Now, I think PA could be moved up a little bit because in pubs you can play with PA a little bit more. It's a little bit more successful, but right now it's just so bad. It's just not an Alk patch like last patch was not an Alk patch, so Alk is just not good. It just seems to either be an Alk patch like where he's terrible, or it's, you know, the S-tier hero pretty much. And then Lone Druid, not really carry. If anything, he's more of a mid, but he's just really bad right now. People aren't picking him that much. He could even be moved up to D, but I just don't see him being picked. His win rate's not that good, all those kinds of things. So that is my position 1 carry tier list. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. If you think, you know, Troll should be higher, Monkey King should be higher, someone should be lower, maybe Slark should be lower for some reason, I don't know, that would be crazy. Whether you want Lycan to be included, all those kinds of things. But I think this is actually I have a pretty good handle on the carry role because it's my role that I play. So of all the roles, I think I have a pretty good handle on this one. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, like, comment, subscribe, those kinds of things. If you want me to review one of your replays, go to the Discord. The link is below. I'm taking the requests there from now on. If you want to get coaching, which I'm doing coaching now, you can go to my Patreon. Link is also in the description below. And as always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subbing, all of those things. I really appreciate it. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.